Queen Elizabeth was one of the most powerful and respected monarchs in the world today. Sadly, on Thursday, the 8th of September of 2022, at the age of 96, Queen Elizabeth passed away, completing a 70-year reign as monarch. But have you ever wondered about some of the royal secrets that are yet to be discovered? Here are some of the little-known facts about Queen Elizabeth that you probably didn't know before. Here are things you never knew about England's longest-reigning monarch. She married her third cousin. The Queen and Prince Philip have the same great-great-grandparents, Queen Victoria and Prince Albert, who were first cousins themselves. This makes them third cousins. She was only 13 when she fell for Prince Philip. Princess Elizabeth was just a pre-teen when she met the 18-year-old Philip Mountbatten, who was then a cadet in the British Navy. The two corresponded for several years while he was away at sea. By the time Elizabeth was 17, she knew he was the man she wanted to marry. And they were secretly engaged for 3 years. In 1946, the press spotted Philip helping the princess put on her coat at her cousin's wedding and noticed the connection between them. The couple was secretly engaged at the time, but the palace waited 3 years, until Elizabeth was 21, to make the official announcement. Her marriage to Prince Philip set a record. On November 20, 1947, the then 21-year-old princess married naval officer Prince Philip of Greece in a gown created by court designer Norman Hartnell. Queen Elizabeth's famous wedding dress, which features a drawing of two lovebirds kissing, was woven using Syrian brocade imported from Damascus. The brocade fabric was brought from the Al-Muzner factory in the Bab Sharki neighborhood of Damascus's Old City and featured embroidery of two lovebirds, exchanging kisses in a pattern known locally as the lover and the beloved. Woven with 12-karat gold thread, the brocade fabric was reportedly sent to the Queen by Syrian President Shukri al-Quwatli. The dress was meant to symbolize rebirth and growth in Britain after the war, according to the Royal Collection Trust. It took 350 women 7 weeks to make and featured elaborate floral motifs of jasmine, smilax, lilac, and white rose-like blossoms added to the train. The design was inspired by Italian artist Botticelli's 1482 painting of Primavera. Elizabeth and Philip's royal love story has stood the test of time. They've been married for a head-spinning 73 years. In 2007, Her Majesty became the first British monarch to celebrate her diamond wedding anniversary when they reached the milestone of 60 years of marriage. Here is a fun fact. Philip nicknamed her after a vegetable. The Queen is affectionately known as Cabbage by her husband. No one knows why for certain, but the Sunday Times surmised in 2006 that it might have originated with the French phrase, mon petit chou, which translates to both, my little cabbage, and, my little pastry puff. She was a big Downton Abbey fan. The Queen never missed an episode of the beloved British period drama and is said to have enjoyed pointing out the series' rare historical errors to anyone who's watched it with her. She ate a surprisingly un-royal breakfast. Despite having a royal chef and a kitchen staff who could whip up whatever her heart desires, the Queen's favorite breakfast is Kellogg's cornflakes, which she keeps in a Tupperware container on the breakfast table during her meal. She also sips Twining's Earl Grey tea with milk, but no sugar. She has a drink before lunch every day. Her Majesty said that she enjoyed a daily cocktail of gin and Dubonnet ahead of her midday meal. Bottoms up, she worked as a mechanic during World War II. King George VI did not want his daughter to enlist, but he eventually relented. Princess Elizabeth joined the Women's Auxiliary Territorial Service in 1945, making her the only female member of the royal family to have entered the military. She toiled as a mechanic and truck driver during the war. Thanks to the skills she learned, she's been known to tinker with the Range Rovers at Balmoral on occasion when there's trouble under the hood. She and her sister once partied incognito in the streets of London. Elizabeth and Margaret got their parents' permission to join the massive crowds celebrating the end of World War II on May 8, 1945. The Queen has recalled the evening as one of the most memorable in her life. I remember lines of unknown people linking arms and walking down Whitehall, all of us just swept along on a tide of happiness and relief, she said in 1985, according to a post by the royal family on Instagram. Elizabeth and Margaret's escapade has even been dramatized in a film called A Royal Night Out. The Queen has owned more than 30 Pembroke Welsh Corgis during her lifetime. She celebrated her birthday twice a year. The Queen's real birthday was on April 21st, but the country didn't officially celebrate until June 11th. Monarchs with birthdays in colder months typically schedule an additional, official birthday when the weather is likely to be better for a parade. Elizabeth had one every June called Trooping the Colour. She owned all the swans and dolphins that swim in UK waters. As early as the 12th century, the British monarchy laid claim to all mute swans in the country, according to the official royal family website. Back then, the birds were considered a delicacy. Plus, thanks to the 1324 statute, the Queen could have also claimed ownership of all fishes royal. That means any sturgeon, dolphins, whales, and porpoises that reside in the waters around the UK. She owned more than 30 corgis throughout her lifetime. Elizabeth's father brought home the royal family's first corgi in 1933, and on her 18th birthday, Elizabeth was gifted her very own corgi named Susan, according to the Associated Press. Many of her subsequent corgis descended directly from Susan. She also got to use a private ATM at Buckingham Palace. It's provided by Coutts, one of Great Britain's most prestigious banks. Queens don't have to pay taxes, but Elizabeth did anyway. The sovereign isn't required to pay income or capital gains taxes, but Elizabeth had been voluntarily doing so since 1993, according to the royal family's website. She reportedly wore the same nail polish since 1989, and it's surprisingly cheap. Apparently, the Queen was rather taken the Essie's classic pale pink polish ballet slipper, which currently retails for just $7. Essie says that, in 1989, Queen Elizabeth's hairdresser wrote a letter to nail polish mogul Essie Weingarten requesting a bottle of the classic shade. The Queen refused to wear any other color. She used to Skype with her great-grandchildren. By all accounts, the Queen is a devoted great-grandmother who was extremely close to her growing brood of great-grandchildren. Gone, as Prince George calls her, used to Skype to stay close to the children when she was away and always brought back little souvenirs from her travels. Kate Middleton said the Queen likes to leave little presents in George, Princess Charlotte's, and Prince Louis's rooms when she used to visit them. She didn't have a passport or a driver's license, nor did she need them. Both driver's licenses and passports are issued in the Queen's name, so she doesn't need either. She was the only person in the United Kingdom who was allowed to drive without a license. Her Majesty had never taken a driver's test and her cars have no license plates, but the Queen loved to get behind the wheel. Prior to her death, she was pretty comfortable behind the wheel, too. She once hopped into a Land Rover and drove Saudi Arabia's Prince Abdullah around one of her country estates. She reportedly used her purse to send secret signals to her staff. The Queen used her trusty handbag to subtly exit uncomfortable or boring meetings. If the Queen was at dinner and places her handbag on the table, her staff knew that she wanted the event to end in the next 5 minutes. And if she put her bag on the floor, it signaled that she would like to be rescued from her current conversation. She attended her first fashion show in 2018. Despite her lifetime love of fashion, the Queen only just made her first front row appearance in 2018 during London's Fashion Week at designer Richard Quinn's runway show. Her Majesty's chair was easy to spot, it was the only one with a special velvet cushion. The Queen had to give up her private yacht and airline. In 1954, a year after her coronation, Queen Elizabeth took delivery of Britannia, a large and luxurious royal yacht. The family also had exclusive use of 2 small airliners operated by the Royal Air Force in their own royal train, fitted out with all the comforts of the Orient Express. The Queen insisted that the yacht should be furnished like her suite in Buckingham Palace, even down to the same telephones, rather than the naval issue. Eventually, both Britannia and the royal flight had to be given up, as expensive relics of a more extravagant age. Only the royal train remains, but it's rarely used. Prince Andrew was the Queen's favorite son. Caught in the scandal surrounding the sexual predator Jeffrey Epstein, Prince Andrew has been stripped of his office at Buckingham Palace, dropped by all the charities associated with his name, and barred from all public duties. Yet Andrew has always been the Queen's favorite son. For decades, King Charles has resented this, and he has now been instrumental in sending Andrew to the Gulag. Charles has always felt his parents never really understood him, which was true. Andrew much more complied with their stereotypical ideal of a muscular, outward-going prince, even though he has turned out to be arrogant and shallow. She didn't use the last name. The Queen's official title was Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and of her other realms and territories Queen, Head of the Commonwealth, Defender of the Faith. No last name is needed. The other members of the royal family can choose from a buffet of acceptable last names. Here's the complete breakdown of their options. The Queen signed her letters and statements with the name Elizabeth R. While most people sign their letters, emails, or documents with their first and last names, Queen Elizabeth did it a little differently. The royal did use her first name, Elizabeth, for her signature, but she also uses the initial R instead of the last name. The R stands for Regina, which means Queen in Latin. Queen Elizabeth had her own Barbie doll. When celebrating the monarch's birthday and 70 years on the throne, Barbie released a royal doll made in the image of Queen Elizabeth to celebrate. The Queen is the perfect addition to the Barbie tribute collection, intended to honor women whose contributions have had a great impact. We're proud to celebrate her historic milestone and encourage kids to learn more about her legacy, Lisa McKnight, Mattel's EVP and global head of Barbie and Dolls, said in a statement, according to USA Today. The Queen had a great sense of humor. While she appeared stony-faced in some photos, the Queen really did have a fun side. One of her former security guards recalled a time when a group of tourists at Balmoral Estate didn't recognize the monarch, who was wearing a headscarf at the time. The group asked Elizabeth if they had ever met the Queen. No, Elizabeth reportedly responded. Then she pointed to a nearby policeman and said, "But he has." If you have a fact you want to share about Queen Elizabeth, tell us in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe.